It has all those definitions. I mean, we want to feel safe at work, which means we feel that we can be ourselves. It means that we feel safe enough to raise our hands and say, I made a mistake, or I don't feel qualified for the position you've given me, I need more training, or I'm struggling at home, it's affecting my work, I'm scared, I need help. And to say any of those things with the confidence that our boss or any of our colleagues would rush to support us. Because if we don't create those psychologically and sometimes physically safe spaces, but those psychological safe spaces, what we end up is with a group of people who come to work every day lying, hiding, and faking. They're hiding mistakes. They are not admitting if they don't know how to do their jobs. They will never admit that they don't know something. For fear that it makes them vulnerable, for fear that it maybe makes them the weak link, that they'll find themselves on some short list at the next round of layoffs. The problem is how do you run a successful organization that's supposed to sustain over the long term, thrive over the long term, if people are literally hiding things that go wrong, not admitting that they don't know how to do their jobs, and never admitting they need help? That doesn't last. That doesn't last. And the problem is when someone leads with a finite mindset, where they attempt to incentivize performance. And by the way, you can't incentivize performance, you can only incentivize behavior. Then bad things eventually happen. You can't incentivize performance because somebody has to do something to achieve that performance. There's a cause and effect. You know, you can't incentivize an effect, you can only incentivize the cause that would hopefully yield that effect, which is behavior. So if I say to you, I will give you a massive bonus if you hit a certain target at the end of the year, no matter what you're incentivizing is that I will do certain things to achieve that goal that you've set for me. But the problem is when we apply excessive amounts of pressure, and it's at all costs, like my very livelihood depends on that, it can accidentally incentivize some quite unseemly behaviors, like hoarding information, right? Because this is what gives me my value, and I don't want to share information or things that I've learned with my colleagues and coworkers, which is madness. Or unethical behavior, stabbing other people in the back. And this is one of the problems with, I think, our modern business today, which is too much of business is run right now with an excessive amount of finite thinking. Now, there are always finite games within the infinite game. The infinite game, however, provides the context. And without that infinite mindset, all you have is win, 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 which is unsustainable. An infinite game is not a series of finite games. It's unsustainable because nobody has that energy and there's no such thing as a perfect growth chart. It doesn't exist.
Really fast, tell me why isn't an infinite game just a series of finite games?
For the same reason you can't just keep eating chocolate cake every day because it feels good. Because simply driving people gets exhausting. It destroys the foundations of trust. It destroys the foundations of cooperation. And when we don't work well together, share information, admit mistakes, there's no innovation. And we know what simply driving a series of finite games looks like. It looks like investment banking before 2008, which produced an artificial, man-made recession. And so much of the finite thinking that we have today, unfortunately, is a really reasonably modern invention. It's not like business has always operated this way. The thinking of Milton Friedman, the 1970s economist, has really dominated sort of business theory today. He theorized that the responsibility of business, this is his definition, the responsibility of business is to maximize profit within the bounds of the law, right? What about ethics? You know, like a pharmaceutical company that raises the price on essential drug 200%, 300%, 500%, 800%, it's not illegal. It is unethical, right? It makes us uncomfortable, and yet the law is not broken. That's not a good enough standard to run a business. And it was his thinking that gave rise to the theory of shareholder supremacy, which was a theory proposed in the late 1970s, where we prioritize the wants, needs, and desires of a shareholder over the needs of the customer or the employee, which is like a coach who's trying to build a great team by doing what the fans want versus what the players need, right? That's basically shareholder supremacy. And as I said, it was just a theory proposed in the late 1970s that was popularized during the boom years of the 80s and 90s. Mass layoffs, where we use the livelihoods of human beings to meet arbitrary projections on an annualized basis at the end of the year, did not exist Did not exist as a standard business practice prior to the 1980s. Did not exist. It was popularized during the 80s and 90s. The dismantling of Glass-Steagall, which was an act passed after the Great Depression to prevent another Great Depression from happening, and by the way, was extremely effective. Between the dismantling of the Glass-Steagall in the 80s and 90s and the Great Depression, there were a total of 0 stock market crashes. Since the dismantling, all in the name of corporate profit, we've had 3. We had the dot-com boom, Black Monday in 2008. In other words, when we play simply with a finite mindset, we actually do long-term damage to our own system that's supposed to benefit all of us. And I find that upsetting. We've seen the rise of Friedman's thinking, rather. And like I said, his theories dominate business today. And we feel it. Not only have we had those stock market crashes, but anybody who goes to work today, there's a general feeling of unease, especially if you work for a company that embraces annual or even quarterly layoffs to meet arbitrary projections. Keep in mind, a lot of the companies that employ mass layoffs are profitable, just not as profitable as they would like. It's not like they're losing money and they had to do this to save the sinking ship. That's something completely different. These are highly profitable companies that missed a projection, and so they laid people off so they could meet that projection. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. And we know it because we feel it at work. We see this decline of trust. We are not loyal to our companies anymore. Why would we be? They're not loyal to us. And leaders set the tone. So when companies are loyal to us, we will give loyalty back to them. When they're not loyal to us, why would we be loyal to them? I'm tired of CEOs telling me that millennials these days don't stick around very long. Well, why would they if you don't offer them any kind of loyalty back? And it's not for the people to prove to you that they're loyal, it's the other way around. Leaders set the tone. And so it's because of this general business theory that we've seen a steady decline, a steady erosion of loyalty in the business world today. We don't want to work at a company for 20 or 30 years, mainly because we're not sure we could. We're not sure that the company actually cares to keep us around that long. And so we constantly have our eyes open and we're constantly scanning. We come to work feeling uncomfortable that some of the decisions that are being made don't benefit the good of the employee, that it really benefits this artificial constituency that we call the shareholder, which is really just a bunch of institutional investors. There's this shareholder myth because there's been a steady decline of the middle class being involved in the stock market for years. And the whole point of the stock market was that we all get to share in the wealth that we helped build, because it's on the back of average Joe employees that produced the great wealth in the nation. And the whole point of the stock market, the genius of the modern day corporation, the genius of the public company, was that we all get to share in the wealth that we're helping produce. Unfortunately, over the course of the 80s and 90s, we've seen systems produced where we're seeing the general population, the middle class, actually be less included in that success. And the reason I wrote The Infinite Game was because I myself got tired of being told by people in positions of authority or people of extreme wealth that I was naive, that I don't understand how business works. And for many years, I believed them. I thought, maybe I am the dumb one, right? We all kind of feel that because they have the power, they have the authority, they have the money, they know more than we do, but we still go to work and feel uncomfortable. And it turns out that that discomfort, that gut feeling that says that there's something wrong here, turns out that the majority actually knows something. And to me, this is a world is flat moment, that the people who've learned to game the system, that this discomfort that we feel, we actually are right. Like, they actually don't understand the game they're in. Business is an infinite game, and when you play with a finite mindset, lots of people suffer, including the companies that they themselves are trying to build. That's the great irony. The great irony is the way you build great companies is with an infinite mindset. The way you build great companies is by prioritizing people before profit. The way you build great companies is will before resources. Both things important, but there has to be this general leaning where we can feel, when we come to work and feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves, where we feel that our work and our effort is worth more than simply the money we make. I got tired of being told I was naive. I got tired of being told that I don't understand how business works. And it turns out that me and the majority of people actually understand more. We may not understand the mechanics, but we understand that what's happening isn't right. It doesn't feel right. You know, the discovery of this definition of the infinite game was a large part of it, because I recognized that business is an infinite game, and almost all of the leadership in business today is finite-minded. And so there's literally, you can't show up to a game of basketball ready to play football. Like, it's not gonna go well. We overuse sports analogies in business, but sports has beginning, middle, and end. There actually is a finish line, right? We overuse the analogies. They're incorrect analogies. You know, running a business is the same as getting healthy. It's a lifestyle. Leadership is a lifestyle. An infinite mindset is a lifestyle, right? So for example, you can't get healthy by going to the gym for 9 hours. It doesn't work, right? But if you go every single day for 20 minutes, you'll absolutely get into shape, 100%. But I don't know when, and it's different times for different people, right? And leading is the same thing. You can absolutely have fitness goals. You can absolutely have finite goals within the infinite context of being healthy. But there's a practice that you have to do. You have to get enough sleep. You have to go to the gym. You have to eat well. You have to protect your relationships, you know, because healthy relationships really matter to our health. And you have to do all those things vigilantly. And if you miss your health goal, it's okay. You keep working at it and you know you will hit it. Business is the same. Who says that you have to meet this goal on this arbitrary date? Now, it helps to drive and it's good to have incentives, and we're very goal-oriented species. That's fine. But if we miss the thing, it's fine. We just keep working towards it. Like, they're guidance. They're not absolutes, because they're arbitrary dates and arbitrary numbers. And even if you do hit your fitness goal, you don't get to stop working out. You have to keep going for the rest of your life. Right? And this is what leading with an infinite mindset means. Here's an example. This is a normal scenario in business, right? We will give a team a target, a goal, to hit by a certain time frame, usually a year, because that's usually when we pay taxes, right? That's the only reason things are done in years, right? If we pay taxes every 18 months, all the goals will be 18 months, right? So we usually give people a financial target, and there's two teams. One that is driven solely by hitting that goal, because all they care about is getting their bonus at the end of that goal. Morale is up and down. If they happen to have a good month, morale is up. If they have a bad month, morale is down. Retention is terrible. They can't hold on to employees. Nobody really trusts each other. The boss is toxic. And right before the end of the financial year, they have some mad push where they're dropping prices all over the place, and they manage to drive revenues and hit the goal, right? The problem is we bonus that team, we bonus that leader because of the goal they hit, right? And basically what we're doing is spreading a message to the rest of the company saying, we don't care how you get there, we don't care if you step on your people, we don't care if you act unethically, if you hit your number, you're gonna do very well in this company. Versus another team that's doing extremely well, it's good, steady, slow growth, like really on target, you know? Not the highs and lows, the peaks and valleys. Morale is super high, retention is amazing, it's a model team, they trust each other, they share information, and they miss their goal on the agreed upon date, right? At the end of the year, they're just shy of it. But clearly you can see from the trend data, they're gonna hit it at 13 or 14 months. The problem is we don't give that person anything. We don't give that team anything, right? And this is part of the problem. When you have an infinite mindset, absolutely have the goals, but the trend matters more. How you get there matters as much, if not more. And we pay attention to that. So even if I hit my fitness goal, I'm eating better, I'm sleeping better, my relationships are great, I'm going to the gym. Yes, I missed my goal, but I know if I just keep going, I'll hit it. I'm getting healthier and healthier, right? I just got the timing wrong. And this is what we need to build into business, that infinite mindset. Yes, have the goals. Yes, have the ambitions. Yes, have the annual targets. If we miss them, as long as we're doing the right things, we have the right lifestyle to take us there, that's a much healthier way to live a life and a much healthier way to build an organization.